Affordable Housing Standing Committee, which we're proud of. We have several bills to consider, which we actually won't start until the council member gets in. And so with that, then I think I will introduce Christine Lalonde, who is here to speak to us about the cold weather plan. And if you want to go ahead and tell us about that and answer questions.
Yep, and I have a PowerPoint, but I'm happy to just talk too. It's kind of up to you, given the configuration of the room. I know it would be hard for folks since it would be over your heads.
That's exactly that would be great.
I have some handouts. When I teach communications, I tell students to depend on not being able to do their PowerPoint, so I'm testing myself today.
All right, we'll rate you. All right.
Is it okay for me to be here?
Yes, that would be
okay.
Sure.
Sorry,
Go for it.
I should have asked that before I presumptuously came up front. I'm going to pass something out as well.
Okay.
So just a couple of sheets here that we can talk about. So I'm here today to talk about cold weather sheltering in particular. Now it's like, I don't know why it's doing that, but okay. Okay, I know.
There we go.
I can go ahead and call it up since it's on the screen.
Okay.
It's going to be a distraction.
Just
Let's see if
everyone
this actually works.
Is this the same page?
Let's see if this works.
Is it the same as what she has?
Okay, actually, Christine, while you're doing that, we have 3 pieces of legislation. I just found out that I'm going to lose a couple of people, so if you'll
No, of course.
let me back up to that very quickly. We'll go over those 3. And then we do also have some Barnes Fund representatives here, and we will also make sure we reserve time for y'all.
Would you like me to move back to the audience, or do you want me to stay here?
Just don't vote.
Okay, I'm not going to.
I was sitting somewhere there where I was not a member, and somebody said all in favor, and I immediately did that. So. Okay, we will begin with RS 2020-180, which sponsors Mendez, Hurt, and others. This approves, which includes me, so we can move it that way. This approves a sub-recipient grant agreement between the Metro Development and Housing Agency and the Metro Department of Social Services Homeless Impact Division for one-time payments of first month's rent and security utility deposits on behalf of homeless persons obtaining housing through various campaigns. Do you have a motion?
Move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions about this? This is similar to the House Nashville campaign that we had earlier. So if there are no questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 6 voting, none against. Great. Next is BL 2020-149, sponsors Toombs, Taylor, and others. This amends Title 11 of the Metro Code to require a landlord to provide prior notice prior to an increase in rent. Councilmember Toombs.
So, Madam Chair, I'm going to be moving for a deferral for 2 meetings.
Okay.
I've had some groups reach out to me about possible amendments. I need time to discuss with them.
Great, okay. Any discussion on the deferral? Okay, seeing none, all of those in favor of a 2-meeting deferral, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, bill is deferred 2 meetings. Thank you. And next is BL 2020-150, sponsors Allen Sledge and O'Connell. This amends ordinance BL 2019-1491, directing the Department of Codes and Building Safety to add inspections and certificates of occupancy to the prioritization list for certain affordable housing projects. And as the sponsor, I will move approval and then move an amendment that would add stormwater inspections to that as well. Do I have a second? Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. On the amendment, all those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
By saying aye. And then to the bill as amended, this is simply a slight expansion of an existing bill. We've had some folks from the nonprofit builders as well as others ask if we would do whatever we can to expedite their process. And so this would specifically add to the list of things the use and occupancy permit, and then some inspections that I think we're kind of sliding under. And I spoke with Bill Herbert of Metro Codes, who said they're working with IT to make sure that there's an actual flagging process that will show up at the front whenever anything gets in front of an inspector or a plans reviewer. So we have the blessing of Codes on that. So any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The bill is approved. Adopt as amended. Okay, 6 in favor, 0 against. Okay, that concludes our legislative agenda. And so with that, we will go to the cold weather plan, and then we appreciate y'all being here. Hope y'all don't mind learning about cold weather plan, and then we would love to hear from y'all as well. So,
Okay.
Ms. Lamont.
All right. Thank you. All right, so as Councilmember Allen said, I'm Christine Lalonde. I'm in an unusual position in that it's shared by 3 different departments/agencies. I'm the Director of Shared Strategy and Impact, and I report to MDHA, Metro Social Services, and the Mayor's Office. This was an initiative of the Mayor's Office trying to address some of the need for stronger systems across those agencies in addressing homelessness. And so that's who I am. I haven't met a few of you. I used to sit in your seat, so to speak, 10 years ago when I was a member of the council representing the 18th district. Yeah, go 18. Fight 18. So I'm going to keep it relatively short so that I can answer any questions that you have. I've come, of course, at the invitation of the chair. And I'm here to just talk about what is happening with cold weather sheltering. And I want to also give an apology for Judy Tackett, who is our Homeless Impact Division Director in Social Services and who is ill today and was not able to be here. So she sends her regrets. A couple of quick things. One thing to keep in mind, of course, on cold weather sheltering is it's really an acute part of our overall problem with homelessness. It's often the time that people really notice homelessness is in those moments. But of course, we want to move as much as we can upstream to address the systemic issues around homelessness in the community, which of course some of the work that you're doing here today is directly for that end. And a second part I want to also emphasize about the cold weather system is that we have a cold weather community response plan. You can find it at coldweathernashville.com. This is a community response to this situation, planned together across agencies. Metro is just a part of that response overall. And so I think that's always important to keep in mind that Metro does not own this plan. It helps coordinate and support it and supplement it, but it does not own it. It's owned by the community. So just to kind of get to a couple of things. I worked in this space in the Dean administration back, if you remember the cold weather vortex, for those of you who were here 6 or so years ago, 7 years ago, we had this really, really cold weather, and that was a moment when Metro stepped in more forcefully to house folks as our shelter numbers increased, and I was a part of the group that worked on that plan. And coming back into this system after being away for a few years, I was really impressed by some of the barriers that have been reduced in the community-based system. So, for example, the mission now takes people who have pets with them, which was something that did not exist before. It allows for late-night entrance. Again, there's a 7 o'clock kind of check-in time at the mission, but now they'll let folks come in later at night. They reduced their suspension list. They had about 200 or so folks that were suspended from the mission, but during cold weather nights are down to about 22. So more than 90% reduction. And those folks that are suspended from the mission are those who have typically committed violent acts, usually against staff at the mission. So very particular set. And by the way, we're not even sure that those 22 are still living in the community. So they're not necessarily turning away 22 people. A lot more shared data and real-time planning exists now than existed back 6-7 years ago. And they have a reduced set of incidents of things that are happening in their sheltering system. So just wanted to keep that in mind. I'm going to pass out this as well about kind of shelter numbers and capacity. So I think everybody knows that the Metro overflow shelter kicks in when it is predicted to be 28 degrees or below. That was a number that was kind of jointly decided with the community about when folks really decide that they want to come in. Again, this is a supplement to the existing community system. And you'll see that we have a kind of a variety of numbers when it comes to how many folks are being housed. Some of that, if you look at the community capacity, that alters a little bit day to day based on how many congregations are participating in Room in the Inn. But a really important thing to keep in mind is that we are not reaching capacity in our community-based system. right? So it's not the overflow aspect of Metro where it's like we've reached the point where we cannot take any more people at Room in the Inn and the shelter and the Mission and Launchpad. We haven't reached that point this season, and you'll see that the highest number I think we had for community capacity was 83%, and that was in that kind of strange moment in November where we had really, really cold weather. It's hard to get an exact number in community capacity because the Mission and to an extent Room in the Inn really goes the extra mile if there is kind of an emergency situation to make more and more space. So the overflow shelter that exists, you can see the capacity numbers there too. The highest we had was on that November 12th date where we were at 82%. And again, never really at a moment where we felt like we were in dangerous territory during that, in the sense of not having capacity for those who came in. And I'm happy. So obviously one of the issues that's come up repeatedly is the issue of the location of the shelter. It is at a DCSO reentry facility on Harding, and concerns have been expressed in the community about that location and the potential barriers that exist for those who have perhaps been incarcerated before, have had traumatic experiences, and want to avoid being in that setting. There is a lot of challenge with finding alternative settings for where we would shelter that number of people with that kind of flexibility. It has been housed in the past in different settings, including at community centers and the parks. Every setting has a set of challenges that come with it. With the parks, obviously there's a lot of programming that happens in the parks that gets displaced. There's also a lot of children's programming in the parks. There's a lot of concern expressed in the parks about people leaving needles, other paraphernalia, a lot of cleanup that was required in the shelters after folks had been there, and it was kind of disruptive too, and I can go into more detail on that. The fairgrounds has been proposed as well, and in fact, when I first was doing this sheltering, we were at the old fairgrounds buildings. Not an ideal situation, certainly kind of cold and had some issues, but that's where we were. Now, there is the ability to do that in the new space. The biggest challenge with the fairgrounds is how unpredictable the availability is, and so for like the months because they have events that they're running there, and if they're running events during the times where we have to call a cold weather night, they can't displace those events. Obviously, they have a contractual relationship with somebody, and they do setup and load in. I can look up the exact numbers, but which I have here somewhere. Oh, in January, for example, there were only 4 days that the facility was open that did not have other events, and then there was in February only scheduled 1 day without an event. Now that doesn't mean the events take up the entire space, but typically sometimes like their bigger shows, the flea markets, etc., they've got a lot of loading and unloading, so it's a challenge. So the location, remains this challenge that we're looking at. There are some strong benefits to the location where we have it now. It is always available and for our use. It has strong capacity. It offers a level of privacy that other spaces do not, that many of the people have expressed to us how much they appreciate it. It's generally a quiet location. The actual process, I think, of the folks once they are there has been generally positive. And so it does give us this consistent capacity and ability to execute sometimes very quickly on a setting. So we can discuss that more as well. But that is the location we've been using, and I think it's generally the logistics and processes on that have gone well. And I did want to talk a little bit about processes and staffing and training. And again, we can get into more detail. Obviously, I could go into a lot of detail on all of this. The community has worked together, and particularly the metro agencies, on setting up processes. I passed out the overflow shelter rules and processes to you all, something that we've collectively brought together and done. And I have been out at the shelter, I think, at least 8 times this season. When I go out, I always try to go through the process that our guests go through in terms of the intake. I don't have to do that, but I choose to do that. So I go through the process of having my stuff searched, of getting a pat down, of doing all of that, because I want to make sure that I'm experiencing what our guests are experiencing. I've also taken the bus with the guests out there, and I've also been there in the morning when people are leaving to make sure that that process is going okay. So in general, we have staff from DCSO that's kind of helping with our security and safety there. We also always have Metro Social Services workers. Usually there's at least one, if not two, case management levels staff there. Usually we have about 4 people who are there from social services. All are trained in social work principles, in de-escalation of conflict, of trauma-informed care, quarterly training, and then our DCSO staff also have de-escalation training and training for how to respond to those who might be experiencing a mental illness. And so ongoing discussions about that at all times. Both of those departments have their own grievance processes that we are bringing together to have one grievance procedure for the shelter, which I'm working hard to have in place by the time we open for our next cycle. We don't know when that's going to be. It's not at least in the next 10 days. We are daylight today. It's not happening. But that we'll have that grievance process in place. But always the administration of DCSO and social services is available at all times when the shelter is open for the staff that is there if they have any issues, emergencies, or calls. And that is true also for the Homeless Impact Division. So wanted to do that. There is a budget impact. Frankly, this is an expensive proposition to run the shelter. So I did not share these numbers because these are estimates, and so I didn't print them out, but we will get those numbers finalized. But so far for the November and December estimates of the money spent for overtime, for staffing, for some supplies, so that initial supplies number is quite high. That's not a monthly number, that's more of a seasonal number. We're at almost $73,000 for November and December. That does not count the administrative hours that are not official, like overtime hours. For example, it doesn't count my time or Judy Tackett's time not spent at the shelter. This is really about staff that we bring in specifically to work the shelter or the staging area of the shelter. So we're looking at about $73,000 so far for this season. Metro is a large organization, obviously. We have some flexibility and able to deploy people without that kind of lead up. Doesn't mean that it doesn't have an impact on the staff and on the budgets of these agencies. There isn't a separate budget so far for cold weather sheltering. So also wanted to say a couple of the other concerns that were brought up, I believe, at your Affordable Housing Committee meeting in the past was about hot meals. We do consistently have had hot meals at dinner time. Breakfast is a pretty quick thing. It's oatmeal and granola bars and people kind of walking out the door. People are able to have smoke breaks. That is something that we have a system for. If people want to take a smoke break, we make that happen. People are allowed to have pets at the shelter, and we had some glitches at the beginning with the shower access, but those glitches have been fixed, and people consistently have access to the showers. Everyone gets a hygiene kit and a towel when they come and are able to take showers while they're there. So if any of the council members ever want to come during a night at the shelter, of course you are most welcome to do that. You can talk to me and I can arrange for that. I've also had a community partner come with me before, so that's something that we want to make possible for folks to see for themselves what we're doing and how the system works.
So I'll send out your contact info.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's all I have. There's a lot more I could say. And happy to take any questions and answer them either as best I can or to promise you to get an answer.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. small clarification question, not serious stuff, so I'm sure you
Okay.
have it.
I hope so.
I guess my first question is, if the mission is now full, is not at capacity,
Yeah.
why are we sending people to the overflow shelter? Is there any reason for that?
Yeah, there is. So, you know, cold weather sheltering, emergency sheltering it's a challenge to understand, I think, when you're kind of outside the system. But there are people who do not want to stay at the mission. They have their own personal reasons. They may have had an experience there that they, in their past, where they didn't like their experience there. There's something about the culture there. It is a Christian organization. Some people have some concerns around that and whether or not they'll be fully welcome. Again, I want to give a lot of credit to the mission for the barriers that they have reduced over the last several years. I mean, I've seen a pretty dramatic change from my perspective of how the mission operated 10 years ago versus how it operates now. But there is some resistance to that. The other thing is that we allow couples to come to the same space. Whereas with the mission, you have to separate. And so there's a women's mission and a men's mission, and you stay separately. And this way, folks are able to stay in the same space, and that's really important to some people, particularly if they feel like they're caring for one another. So I think those are reasons. We do have, I'm sorry I don't have the repeat numbers today. Honestly, it slipped my mind, but we have a lot of folks who are choosing to be in our shelter. I think that there's some differences in the way that we run things that they appreciate. So
I guess the follow-up question is that at the point where we opened the cold shelter, because there was a lot of complaint in the beginning about the overflow shelter, right?
Yes.
At that point, do people know that the mission is still open and they do have
Yes.
an option of whether to go to the mission or to the
Absolutely. So you know, the staging area for this takes place at Salvation Army on Dickerson. So folks come to the Salvation Army, and you know, we help determine where they could go. They come in through outreach workers like Andre and other people, and they also come in on their own, or they get sometimes dropped off by someone. We always make it known that the mission is an option. And we do experience some people resist that as an option. Again, I think it's hard if you've had a bad experience somewhere, even if that place has changed, you still feel like you've had a bad experience and you don't want to return. And I certainly understand that. But we always let people know that the mission has capacity and that they have the ability to stay there. And same with Launchpad for younger people.
All right. And this is my last question. Thanks for the indulgence. This is around the training, because I think the most complaint that we had was the perception of the residents on how they've been treated. They felt like they were in a jail. And one of the recommendations of this committee is that we want to train people, if we don't have a choice of where else to take them, to make sure that people are not just law enforcement officers that know how to treat people as jails.
No, right.
You know what I mean? But so has that happened? I know you talk about training.
Yes.
But has that kind of training happened recently?
Well, it's ongoing training. So I'm happy to have DCSO and social services share a fuller overview of the training that they do. But like I said, you know, the de-escalation, how to respond to people with mental illnesses. I mean, DCSO has a different set of training than social services has. Social services, you know, has obviously more extensive training in certain regards and in certain areas than DCSO, and vice versa. You know, I'll be honest, like it's hard to know what meets muster for what exactly the council committee is looking for, but there is extensive training on this with the staff. And again, happy to have you all come. Obviously, I understand that when someone is present from council, you know, that there's, I mean, always, and it's the same with me, right, when I'm there. But we also have social workers there on staff present at all times. People who are deeply committed to vulnerable people in our community.
Other questions, comments? Yes.
I was wondering if you've had any initiatives in the past to work with the rescue mission in terms of kind of decreasing these reasons why people don't want to stay at the mission. I do winter campusing with Open Table, and I hear all the time that they don't want to go because of either the religious service they have to attend, or they've had bed bugs in the past, or they have had all their stuff stolen multiple times. So those are very real reasons why people also are choosing not to.
We're in ongoing conversations to kind of reduce the barriers across the community. It's not a perfect system. Congregate sites, I also have to say, congregate sheltering sites come with a lot of challenges, things around things like bed bugs and lice and things like that. I mean, honestly, there's just a challenge around that. And so there's resistance to being in those sites for a lot of folks. A lot of people don't want to be in a site with 300 other people that has those challenges. So again, I want to get back to the kind of community sheltering system. I mean, these are ongoing meetings that all the community agencies are engaged in, including Open Table, in trying to get to a system where we have as low barriers as possible. So yes, I mean, I can't speak for the mission, but those conversations are ongoing.
And I just had one more question. So is it still in conversation about trying to find a different location for the emergency shelter? Or?
So, I mean, again, like every site has challenges built into it. And so I think putting that as we look toward next year and the ordinance that the council passed around having a cold weather plan.
In the 4 minutes that we have remaining, can you talk a little bit about the RFP and how that might
So I don't think the intention is to RFP this out for next year.
Okay.
Because the seasons, it's too late in the season to do that. So our intention is to have that plan in place. Everyone is working on that collectively for next year to determine what that might look like, and then to prepare for an RFP for a community-based system, which also comes with its challenges and obstacles. Again, we're in a space with the overflow shelter. Metro has a lot of capacity that they can deploy. It's a lot tougher for community-based agencies to be at the ready to house 130 people that they're not sure when that's going to happen or if that's going to happen, and so we have to really figure out how that RFP might be designed. But that process is ongoing with social services right now.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Sure.
I appreciate y'all coming back for offer your perspective as well, and for your responses to the specific things that we had asked about based on input that we had gotten from people, because we're all just trying to make the situation better for folks that are having a tough time finding shelter. So, Christine, I will send your contact information to the committee so that we can take you up on your offer. I will say I did the point-in-time count for the first time this year, and had several people say, when we went through our list of 40 questions, one of which was, have you ever stayed in the mission? We got very similar answers to what you gave, and it was a cold and wet night when we went out there, and these people were choosing to be in tents because of that. So with that, I'm sorry that some of us have to leave, but the rest of us are eager to hear from the Barnes Fund folk, and we will follow up with questions with you.
Absolutely.
By email.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We
sure.
appreciate the update on that information. So is Hannah still here? Is Hannah still out there? I would love to let Hannah, we done with overflow shelter. I would love to let you sort of orchestrate this part of the meeting where you tell us about the Barnes Fund.
Perfect. I'm Hannah Davis. I manage the Barnes Fund. We went in August, opened up an RFP for round 7 of the Barnes Fund. We received 23 applications that met our requirements for about $20.3 million of fundable projects. In December, we prepared to award about 9.5, but because of some budget constraints, we were limited to $5 million in awards, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And so we're moving forward with that $5 million. in legislation, and we want you to know we have some incredible projects that have been funded. So we have 7 grantees, and they are here tonight ahead of the legislation before it's filed. We wanted to make sure we had a chance to share with you about their projects. And so they'll go through, give 2 or 3 minutes synopsizing who they are, the organization they represent, what council district their projects will be in, who they serve, and how many units they'll be building. And then we'll make sure to have time for questions as well. You want to get started, Carolyn?
My name is Carolyn Nafee, and I'm with a small nonprofit called Our Place Nashville. We're slotted for 2 different properties. One is in District 26, one is in District 8. The one in District 26 is for 66 1- and 2-bedroom units, all affordable, and for 4 7-unit houses, specifically earmarked for adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and also for older adults, which is the vernacular today for senior citizens. For senior citizens or older adults with physical disabilities. Then the second property is at Elysian Fields, and that one is for also 66 1- and 2-bedroom multifamily affordable units, and for 2 7-unit houses, also earmarked for adults with intellectual disability and for older adults with physical disability. And those are the 2 populations that we focus on in community with other people to provide community for them, which is a national best practice, so that you can have a very inclusive environment.
What's the mix of people with needs as opposed to regular citizens who are?
With the folks who apply to live in the affordable units that are the multifamily units, they're welcome to have disabilities, but there's no extra services provided to them. So there are certainly lots and lots of people with mental health issues. There are certainly some people with intellectual problems, and there's a lot of people with physical disability, because the Fair Housing Act defines physical disability in a way that probably most all of us in this room have one. So it could be asthma or high blood pressure or any multiple things. So people have a lot of physical disabilities. So the answer to your question is, golly, 50% maybe? That's a total guess, but I would bet it's pretty high.
Thank you.
Tony?
Oh, sure. I'm excited to share with you an opportunity that Tony with Woodbine Community Organization. I have partnered with Elmington Capital on an opportunity at Hobson Pike and Murfreesboro Pike, right there at the corner behind the Shell station. This is in Council District 32. Councilwoman Stiles, she is very supportive of the project. We actually had a fantastic community meeting back in December, and the community welcomed what we have proposed, and certainly we came to the table with concessions. I think we're upgrading the intersection, the lighting there at the intersection, as well as providing sidewalks right there throughout the community, and of course water and sewer upgrades, which really comes with the territory on any large project. But this is a total of 324 units, so high density. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck when it comes to your grant contribution of the $2 million at the Barnes Fund. I will say that only 1.2 has been approved at this point because of the cuts that were made in the Barnes Fund, so that is very meaningful for this project. Right now, the contribution at $2 million equates to $6,000 a unit, and so hopeful. I've been told that we're very hopeful that next year that the other 800 can come back to the project as originally submitted. Right now, we've got a total of 88 1-bedrooms, 120 2-bedrooms, 88 3s, and 28 4s. The project is targeting individuals with disabilities in addition to large families with those 4-bedroom, 28 units, 4 bedrooms. And then, of course, the entire project is 60 and below because it's a low-income housing attachment project.
6%. Gotcha.
Can I ask one question?
Absolutely.
From what I see on the map, you're doing everything in a max of 3 stories, is that right?
That's it.
Any other questions?
So you've got a site plan and a front facade of what a typical building would look like. They're all going to be walk-up surface parking. plenty of space for community activity and pool, clubhouse.
And trees. Great.
Thank you. Henry?
Yes, my name is Henry Miller, and my nonprofit is called Living Development Concept. And our project is going to be in District 1 and District 21. They're going to be single-family homes, and we cater to a large family. And our target 80% and below AMI, and also one of them is in Southview and one of them on Booker Street, with the single-family home, large family.
Mark Wright with B Helping Hand, and we're kind of like Henry. We're specialists in large families, so we're building 3 units. One unit is in Councilman O'Connell, which is District 19, and the other 2 is off of Lowe's Lane, which is in District 3, which is Council Lady Gamble. So both of these units are 4-bedroom, 2 full bath. They're around 1,800 square feet. They're for single women or women head of household with children at 60% of AMI or below. And they're built for persons with disabilities. So if this large family has someone disabled, they have the ramps. They're built to visibility, so they have the large entryway, 0 entrance, larger bathrooms and kitchen areas for wheelchair accessibility. I'm trying to think of anything special about the projects. But one good thing is we did deal with the community because we're on a large track. It's a 2.2-acre track off of Dickerson Road. And we had lots of meetings with the community before we got to this particular plan. We went for more density, which was the SP plan, but the community decided they wanted to keep it's kind of rural, so they wanted to keep the same kind of look and the amenities of what's going on in the community. So we came up with a plan that fits right in the neighborhood, that you can't tell these affordable housing. They fit garages attached to them. So they fit perfectly with the neighborhood. So we're going to actually do 4 on 2.2 acres. So, yeah, those are our projects.
Any questions?
Great. I'm Lucille Houseworth. I'm with Habitat for Humanity, and our funding supports completing the Park Preserve community in District 2 off of Ewing at Gwenwood. So once completed, we're going to have 178 single-family homes in there. So this is the final 27 homes that would be basically built this spring and on into next fall. They're single-family homes. They're detached. The income limit is 80% of AMI or less. All of the homeowners would be first-time homebuyers and would be required to participate in the Habitat program, which is not just being qualified to purchase their home, but participating in the homeownership training program, the required build hours, volunteer hours, kind of that sweat equity of the program that we have found is helpful to people that are coming from rental type of environments and really being ready for long-term sustainable homeownership. And so the Barnes funding would support some of the construction cost and some down payment assistance and some of the site work. And it's partnered with other funding that comes from faith institutions, corporations in the community, and other government funding, some of it federal and other sources.
And we can volunteer on that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can volunteer, and we'll coordinate that with you. I think there's been some discussion about that.
I recommend it wholeheartedly. You learn all kinds of cool stuff.
All right, I'm Eddie Latimer with Affordable Housing Resources. We just do single-family home ownership. That's our focus. We own quite a few Barnes Fund lots over the last few grant rounds. Half of them we're getting clean title to, and the other half we're ready to go on. We are in District 2, Councilman Toombs, District 5, Councilperson Parker, District 18, Councilperson Sledge, District 21, Councilperson Taylor, and District 9, Councilperson Hancock. What we basically build is we have the basic product is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath home, family oriented, but with the 3 baths, we are drawing in some millennials who use it to do a roommate situation, which helps them afford the mortgage. We really believe that the mortgage is critical. If you're ever going to build assets, you have to own something. And the home is the historical way that Americans have developed assets. So that's what we work with the city to do. We've built and sold over 1,400 homes in the city, primarily with the city and many of its departments as partners over the last 30 years. So, and we also are doing micro homes, which are these one-bedroom homes, which is a new product, targeting a new market. The main two things, real quick, is in Councilman Sledge's district, we're going to do 4 homes with Auburn University's school. There is Rural Studio, which is out of the architectural school. They've been working really hard on sustainability, and they've got light bills in South Alabama down to $30 a month. So we're really going to try to do this sustainable thing, trying to keep the operating costs more affordable, and that'll be our pilot on that. And then we're doing a condo, one-bedroom condo development down near Tribeca, and that's also going to be really focused on energy efficiency.
Does that figure into these 9 here, or are those?
No, that's the 9. It figures into everything you gave me last year. In 19.
Great. Westminster?
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Speak here.
Sure.
Councilman Sledge and I know each other a little bit. He was able to come out and visit one of the client homes that we've worked on in his district last year. And that's one of the joys I'm already having with this, is getting to know more of the council members. I was invited by Councilman Taylor to be part of a panel discussion in District 21's town hall meeting with Rebuilding Together, Habitat, the Housing Fund, and us. And it was at McKissick High School. I had never been to a town hall meeting before, so I got there about 15 minutes early and drove around 5 minutes to find a parking spot. And my first thought was, man, the community turns out for these meetings. And it turned out McKissick had a high school basketball team. But there's still over 100 or so people there. It was very engaging. So that was a great moment to kind of tell more about it. So Westminster Home Connection repairs and modifies homes to empower older adults and peoples with disabilities to age in place safely. We also provide a sort, pack, move service. We were founded in the devastating 2010 Nashville flood. And today we serve older adults and persons with disability in 14 counties in Middle, West, and East Tennessee. Last year we completed 156 homes in Davidson County and 25 zip codes. Our normal range is 80% of AMI or lower, but typically we're working with 50 to 30%. Our median monthly household income for a client would be $1,400 a month, which is no surprise. That's approximately what the Social Security amount is. Our typical client, 70-year-old African-American widow who owns her own home. Our clients, 40% are referred to us through 54 Catholic charities and 40% from healthcare organizations, and then the rest hear from us from word of mouth. It could be a neighbor, a friend, relative, and they call us themselves. Our Barnes Fund grant is to install roofs or soffits, gutters, fascia, and or HVACs in 12 homes. And roofs and HVACs are the most expensive repairs we do to a home. The total project cost is $102,000 for roofs or HVACs for those 12 homes. We have matching funds of $52,000, so the application is for the remaining $50,000. Without Barnes, we wouldn't be able to do these roofs or HVACs. And though we work with older adults, preserving their homes goes beyond their lifetime. It's very interesting. I'm holding a card that was mailed out from the developer. You may have gotten some of these or seen them in your mailbox. Well, it says on the right-hand side, we had a home we inherited that we couldn't afford to repair. The house-buying guys paid cash and closed fast. And it's so much about a paradigm that you look through your perspective. That's great if you want to get cash quick for your home. But in our lens, as we look at it, if the home was repaired, the family could continue to live and work in Davidson County. So these are the kinds of things we run into with affordability and or physically not being able to maintain their home to stay in it. And we certainly have volunteer opportunities that you could come out and be with us on some of that. I guess the final thing I'd say is affordable repairs preserve affordable housing.
Great. Did you already share what districts you're in?
Well, we're in every district.
Right.
When I looked last year, both gone now, but we had, our top were in 21 in District 2.
Okay.
But we're scattered throughout, scattered side. And these 12 will be scattered side.
Right, so you're familiar with those districts. Those are, districts that are changing or are really prone, vulnerable to change. And so that preservation work is really crucial to ensuring that people who want to stay are able to stay. So you can understand why I always tell people I have the best job in the city. It's amazing work that is here represented tonight. The process will be from here on, they have all reached out to their council person where their projects will be. We make sure that there are 3 tries completed. Not always are we able to connect, but we want to make sure that when the legislation comes to the council floor, no one is surprised by a project in a district. So that's why we came here tonight as well, so you can see. And then the legislation is likely to come the first week of March. The donated back tax properties have to go through Planning Commission, so we're just waiting on that turnaround, and then we'll be able to move forward with the legislation.
And if I remember right, it will come through as one altogether aggregated
Correct.
piece.
Yep,
Okay.
yeah.
And it's a resolution, not a...
One meeting.
Very good.
Yes, so thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. I want to remind you that the Barnes Fund so far averages about a 5-to-1 return from additional outside investment. So really grateful for the work they're doing, and every Barnes dollar that you see listed on the overview that I provided you is leveraged by state, federal, loan funds to piece together these really complex and important projects.
Great. Any questions?
Yes, the only question I
This may have
have
already
is...
been asked.
Where's Laura? And then you can have
Thank you, Chair. The question I have is that, do you determine the projects ahead of time, or do you take referrals throughout the year? Like anybody in any district, I can send them to you
Yes, we work,
if they meet that
we
criteria?
work all year.
Councilmember Foster.
And you may have already mentioned this, I apologize for being late, but what is the criteria? I know you have many more projects that you can possibly fund, so what is the criteria that you choose one over the other? Is there like a ranking order?
Yes, yeah, so as an overview of our process, we receive all of the applications. We have a review committee, and the members on the review committee are set forth by our policies and procedures. So we have Housing Trust Fund Commission representative, we have a banker, we have a representative of the nonprofit community. This year we were lucky to have someone who reviews MDHA loans as well, or MDHA grants, so they were able to join. And everyone is scored against the scoring matrix, which is made public ahead of time.
That's what I was wondering about, the scoring matrix.
Okay. Yeah, and I would be happy to share that with you all. It reflects the priorities that the city has, so it's sort of always evolving. Some of the aspects of note are that there's bonus points for being near transit. That's also a priority that a lot of these developers have because they know maybe the residents won't have access to a car. Energy efficiency is prioritized. And then they receive bonus points also for the populations that they serve. So that's some of the aspects. Colby, if there's anything I'm missing, you can speak to anything.
No, I think that's something we talk about as a commission.
Yeah, so and then there's 3 categories. They're all scored together, but they represent the home ownership community, rental, and rehabilitations, which we funded projects in all of those categories. This year we did something a little bit different. We had a large grant pool, and then we reserved $2 million for the small grant pool. So that was anyone that met specific requirements about the size of their organization and the size of their request. We had 3 projects that were funded in that pool, and then anything that wasn't used went to the large grant pool.
Could you share that matrix with us?
Absolutely.
That would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing, I think when you were making your presentation, you mentioned that you got $2 million, but only 1.2 was...
It was partially funded, yes.
So my question is this, and just for clarification, we know about the impoundment, and we know you only have $5 million. Did you award over the $5 million, or is there... We're hoping you get your money, but you know where we stand on that. But in the event that you don't, are you committed to the $2 million? I guess that's my question.
Yes, so the commission is reviewing, the commitment was made to this project because they can't really, we couldn't give them half the money and still expect them to return the number of units. So the commitment was made to do the full amount. Obviously, we hope that when the impounded funds, we can do the full amount on that grant, and then the 2 grants that were cut as part of that impoundment. But in determining who received the $5 million, we awarded to the small grant pool first. So those were 3 grants, and then we just moved down the scoring list. And so we called Tony, and thankfully he said, I'm committed to making this work with that amount, but, I'd have to scale back the project if I weren't able to get the full amount. So he's able to move forward, and in the next allocation of Barnes funding, we would then award out of that if the impounded funds weren't returned previous to that.
Great. Other questions or answers? We are so grateful to all of y'all for not only for being here, but for what you're doing and what you're going to build, and any way we can facilitate that. This group is committed to passing legislation that will make the way easier for y'all. Y'all have already been helpful in giving us some ideas. Some of those are already in the works. And it's okay to repeat yourself. So if y'all want to give us your list that we haven't gotten to yet, we'll keep marching along on that one. Any other items of business that this committee needs to consider? All right, with that, we will adjourn. See you tomorrow. Thank you so much.